Kia ora everybody, what's up? Robett Hollis here. This week's book review is Malcolm Gladwell's Outliers. Basically, it's studying some of the key moments of greatness of either people who've done really well in industries and figuring out all of the stuff behind it that has essentially made them great. And the first thing he basically was saying in it is no one is ever self-made. Like, there's always so many different other influences, spiritual, emotional, family, friends, environment, timing, that you don't take into account when they talk about people's greatness, or some of the stuff that we're actually aware of. So the first thing was no one is actually ever self-made. They're always influenced by so many more other factors of things that are surrounding them that they may not even be aware of, or you may not even be aware of. And if I look at say for my life, I can 100% agree certain things have always influenced me in a certain different way, which you may not be aware of at the time. Second thing was the time of year you were born, driven off especially sport to start with, can actually have a direct impact to the amount of success you have within that field. They were talking about the Canadian ice hockey team, how essentially I think 80% of the players or something were all born within the first 6 months of the year, not the later 6 months, because the cutoff in Canada for ice hockey was January 1st. So basically they're saying, if you're born on January 1st and if you're playing against someone that was born in November or December, you're bigger, you're stronger, you're probably faster, you're almost a year older. So when you start excelling because you're bigger, not because the other guy's more talented, you get more training, more time with coach, more opportunities, and this whole steamrolls from there. So this was actually factually driven off timing, which is quite an interesting thing. And the same thing applies to schooling. If you hit that certain age bracket, you could be a year younger, a year older, and then the older person might get into smart class, might get into this, that, and all the rest of it, because the timing of it works. So the solution he was talking about was, instead of doing it in year chunks, should break down sports into quarters. So if you're born between January and April, you'll play in this section, major, and all the rest of it. The third one was, which is actually interesting on that point, because in my case it was actually different. The cutoff in New Zealand, I think, for schooling was, I want to say June 1st when I was younger, and I was born on May 11th. So instead of going to the start of the new school, which I could have done, I went to the back end of the even one ahead. So I graduated high school when I was, I finished high school when I was 17, when everyone was 18. So when all my friends in the same week were turning 13, I was turning 12, which is weird because I'm almost an outlier of an outlier, because I went the total opposite end of the spectrum, but at the same time, I guess for me it was just even a bigger challenge. So, but in sport, to actually say that, I was super small in basketball and soccer and all the rest of it. So the time of year you're born does have a direct impact on the type of success that you can have. Third one was the rules of 10,000 hours to be able to master your craft of whatever you're up to. Basically saying, to fully master anything like that, you need to be able to commit a full 10,000 hours. And if you break down the average 40-hour week, 50 hours a year, basically it's 2,000 hours per year for the next 5 years. So basically saying for 5 years dedicated into one thing full time, then you can at least try and master it or get extremely solid at it. Which is interesting, because if I'm 31 now, and basically since I've been 15, I've been consumed in almost converting content into currency, which has been really interesting thing. So I've actually gone not for 10,000 hours, probably now, considering I've been going for almost 15 years or over 15 years, I'm probably at like 30,000 hours. So which is an interesting thing too, because I actually totally agree, because I guess I live and breathe content. So the timing of it as well. And third one being, part of the different factors that allow you to be successful is a lot more than you. Internal, external, friends, family, spiritual, emotional, but also timing. Timing of when Steve Jobs and Bill Gates were both born, who dominated an industry, both within a couple of years, and talking about the timing of who you are with your specific skill sets within the specific lane of human evolution and global industries and whatever else as well, which is interesting. And I fully believe it, because if you were to rewind back, if I was born in 1975 opposed to 1985, I wouldn't have had access to free mainstream platforms to be able to put out content. I wouldn't have a platform to distribute like that, because it still would have been, big big newspapers and TV, so digital hadn't really come along yet. So if I was the same me 10 years earlier, I probably wouldn't have had the same opportunity, and maybe I would be doing something totally different. So the timing of who you are with your skill sets in the specific context of human momentum and history makes a big impact too. So make key things from Malcolm Gladwell's Outlier book. Number one, the time of year you were born actually does have a direct impact, whether through education or through sport, something to think about. Two, the rule of 10,000 hours, being able to commit to a craft to master it, which I totally believe. And three, understanding that so many other things, no one is ever self-made, and so many other things directly affect someone's success outside of just their personal talents. And the reality is, your personal talents and gifts only take you so far, and then basically it's the hard work, the grind, the opportunity, the determination, all those other things which really make the biggest impact. So anyway, that was this week's book. I need to get on the book, grind a bit more, and try and close this thing out. I've set a goal to do one a week. I'm way behind, but I'll try and play catch up. See you guys soon. Peace.